What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk a bit more Keyforge. Now, not just because today is a release day of Keyforge, although, side note, today is a release date of Keyforge. I'm so excited, this game's so much fun. I'm in on Keyforge. If you haven't noticed, right, I'm totally in on Keyforge. But a lovely Daniel Norton, good friend of mine, made me aware yesterday that even though the set wasn't officially out, I mean, obviously there's been pre-release stuff and people have got decks early and all of that. This happens, that's fine. There are decks on eBay which are already selling for $200. Now, given that the estimated retail price is $10, that means decks are already selling for 20 times their value. Yowza! How is that possible? Well, the reason is, this is, as I've mentioned in other Keyforge videos, links in the description, including a how to play, which I think you should all check out. This is a unique deck game. It is not a trading card game. So you get a character card, and that has your deck list on the back, and all of your cards have the name of your character on the bottom, and essentially this all adds up to, you buy a deck, you play with this deck. There's no, oh, if I get this card and put it in my deck, it'll be better. No! You play with a deck you get. If you want a better deck, you essentially have to buy a deck and cross your fingers that it is better. Now, obviously this is awesome because it means you pay $10 and that's it, you got a tournament ready deck. And obviously there are potential issues in that some decks will inevitably be better than others. And we end up with a situation where decks are selling for $200 because they happen to be better. Okay. Both of the ones to which my attention has been drawn are all to do with the same combination of rare cards, and they are the 4 Horsemen cards, and they are from the Sanctum house. Now, as I always say about new games like this, we never know what the best cards are. We don't know what the best decks are. This has not been out. Literally, it came out today. We've not had tournaments, we've not had testing, we don't know what's good in Keyforge or not. But of course, people have been testing a little bit, people are used to trading card games, people can look at this and go, okay, I think I know what looks good, and what looks good are the 4 Horsemen from Sanctum. So let's have a quick look, shall we? See how fun they look. We've got Horsemen of Death. Now, Horsemen of Death, now, all of these Horsemen, I should point out, they all have 5 power and 0 armor. That's not phenomenal stats. In the video yesterday, we looked at Big Twig, who has 7 power, and there's plenty of characters around that do have armor. But it's not terrible stats, because, I mean, something like Snufflegator, I love Snufflegator, 4 power, 0 armor, and there's plenty of characters out there that have 2 power, 0 armor. So, although these aren't phenomenal stats, they're fine. They're not great, they're not terrible, they're fine. But it's the skills on these cards that really, essentially set them out as particularly good. So, back to Horsemen of Death. When you play it, you return each Horseman creature from your discard pile to your hand. So, if these Horsemen leave, Horseman of Death gets them back super easily. That's quite handy. And we've then got Horsemen of Pestilence. When you either play or fight or reap, i.e. do anything, you deal 1 damage to each non-Horseman creature. Now, that is, of course, all of yours and all of your opponents. So, Horsemen of Pestilence on its own, not amazing. But if you can combine that with the other 3 Horsemen, you're in this fantastic position where you're just dealing lots and lots and lots of damage, because every turn you play, or reap, or fight, and you deal 1 damage. This is chucking out damage turn after turn after turn, and while you're doing this, you're not taking damage on your other Horsemen. Good and useful in any deck, phenomenal when you've got the other 3 Horsemen. You've then got Horsemen of Famine. When you play or fight or reap, you destroy the least powerful creature. Now, as I've said, these Horsemen, they're not phenomenal in terms of power, but 5 is pretty decent. And again, we don't know that much at this stage. This game is so new it comes out today. But I think it's fair to assume that 5 is rarely going to be the lowest one out there. And even if you do end up destroying one of your Horsemen, Horsemen of Death can bring it back. And then we end up with Horsemen of War. When you play it, for the remainder of the turn, each friendly creature can be used as if they were in the active house, but can only fight. Now this goes back to the rule that I'm sure many of you are aware of. You have 3 houses in your deck, that's always the case. And at the beginning of your turn, you nominate one of your houses, and you can only use cards from that house. Well, Horsemen of War, when you play it down, for the remainder of the turn, you can fight with all of your creatures, whether they are from the friendly house or not. Now, they can only fight, but that's ridiculous. Plus, if you want to reap or something, do it before you play Horsemen of War. And then you basically get extra attacks. You get a turn of just extra attacking. So make no mistake about it, this is a really, really good card. They are all really good cards. But to have all of them in one deck is crazy good, and that's why they've gotten so high. Now, the other thing, which is kind of like on the verge of insulting here, they are not even the only rares. So if we take the one that sold for $200, it's Gunvor Lasershire Kagan, which also has 3 extra rares. You've got Lord Golgotha, which is also a Sanctum card, incidentally. 5 power, 2 armor. That's pretty good stats. Seems to be anyway. And before you fight, you deal 3 damage to each neighbor of the creature you are fighting. That seems pretty good. You get an extra 6 damage on the field, but before you've even fought. That sounds kind of good. We then have a rare from Brobnar, which is Pingle Who Annoys. And Pingle Who Annoys, 2 power, 0 armor, one of these weak characters I was saying. It's elusive, so the first time you're attacked, you don't take any damage, which is quite cool. And then you deal 1 damage to each enemy creature after it enters play. That seems like a fairly good card. And then as if that wasn't enough, you also have Red Hot Armor, a discard. And that is an action card here. And when you play it, each enemy creature with armor loses all of its armor until the end of the turn, and is dealt 1 damage for each point of armor it lost in this way. And what's really cool here is that all 3 of these rare cards, they all do damage. Along with Horsemen of Pestilence, which does damage, and Horsemen of War, which really focuses on fighting. Oh yeah, and Horsemen of Famine, that destroys the least powerful creature. The game isn't about fighting, the game is about forging keys. But let's face it, this deck looks like it's going to be pretty hard to go up against. This seems like a pretty good deck. $200, 10 times the RRP. Now, if we go up against the other deck that was $175, we still get the 4 Horsemen. Incidentally, the Horsemen aren't just rare. 3 of the Horsemen are special, which is above rare. So getting all 4 in one deck really doesn't look like it's going to happen very often. But actually, this deck has 5 extra rares as well. Now, Champions Challenge I don't actually have an image of right now, although there might be one on the screen if I found one in the meantime. But according to the wiki, when you play it, it's an action card. When you play it, you destroy each enemy creature except the most powerful enemy creature. And you destroy each friendly creature except the most powerful friendly creature. And then you ready and fight with your remaining creature. At this stage, can I remind you again that Horsemen of Death will just get all of your horsemen back, which is kind of cool. We also see here Iron Obelisk, which is a location card. Your opponent's keys cost 1 more ember for each friendly damaged Brobnar creature. That sounds like it could be kind of good. I mean, your opponent's going to try and win by forging keys, and you're stopping them forging keys. Sounds like the kind of thing you'd want to be trying to do. We also see King of Crag. That is a creature card. 7 power, 0 armor. 7 power is pretty good. And each enemy Brobnar gets -2 power. Okay, maybe you're not against a Brobnar deck. If you're not against Brobnar, well, you're not against Brobnar. Less than half the decks will have Brobnar in. But still, if you are, that seems pretty fantastic. And then we also have Mugwump here. After an enemy creature is destroyed fighting Mugwump, fully heal Mugwump and give it a +1 power counter. Yeah, if you don't take that dude out fast, it's going to get ridiculously big and powerful pretty gosh darn quickly. And just in case that wasn't enough, we also see a Howling Pit. Howling Pit is also a location, and during their draw card step, each player refills their hand with 1 additional card. Obviously, you play it when you would get more of an advantage than your opponent from doing so. I mean, crazy that there's so many rares. I mean, the decks we looked at in yesterday's video, one of them had 3 rares, one of them actually had 4. I misspoke on that one, my apologies. The deck's going for $200 here. I mean, one of them's got all 4 of the Horsemen, that's a rare and 3 specials, plus an extra 5 rares, and the one that went for $200 has got 3 rares added to the 4 rares, one of which is a special. It's crazy how much difference there can be in some of these decks. I mean, one deck getting 9 rares, including 3 specials, and another deck getting 3. There's going to be significant differences in how many rares you get and how good these decks are. But the decks are already selling for $200. And honestly, I could see that being a little bit low. Because we're going to have organized play. We know that. When we do get organized play, there's going to be tournaments, there's going to be prizes. What if the prizes are really big? What if the prizes are really good? What if you can actually make money from doing really well at these tournaments? And then there are decks which are just better than others. Remember, you cannot make your deck better. You can only get a whole new, brand new, better deck. I could see $200 being a bargain in the future. But given that the game wasn't even out and people are paying $200, I thought this was relevant, to be frank, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as a side note, just on the end of the video, I have actually learned that special rare doesn't necessarily mean super, super rare. It actually only shows up in a deck with the rare Horsemen. So the price of these decks isn't just that they're all appearing together, it's just how powerful they are, and then the other rares coming around. So apparently these kind of special rares do show up because of the rare Horsemen, which is fair enough. But, you know, there's still 5 rares on top of that is ridiculous. Shout out to the lovely Daniel Norton who put me onto this story. Lovely dude, thank you very much indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear from you guys. Tell me how excited you are about Keyforge. Tell me how many decks you've pre-ordered. For me, it's 4, but there's clearly going to be more than that. And tell me if you're surprised at this price or whether you think it's going to go up in the future. Go nuts, ladies and gentlemen, but please do remember the rule. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy for some more Wossy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.